Today you'll be working with the absolute value functions and applied transformations of equations. Remember that you must complete the attendance ticket, and that has to be a post that you put on discussion board explaining what you're going to be doing today, which today you'll be doing transformation of absolute value functions. What you have to do next is print the notes out. And we're going to go ahead and do this together with the video. And then after you do the lesson with me on the video, you're going to submit on its learning. The transformation lesson activity, you'll need to use a graphing calculator, and we are graphing the three equations that are going to be highlighted right now. Those are the three equations we're going to graph. One of them is a parent function. So go ahead and use your graphing calculator. Okay, so go ahead and go to y equals. And if you have equations, you might want to erase it. And then go ahead and write down or type in your absolute value equation. So you have absolute value, math, number, absolute value of x. And then you have math, number, absolute value of x plus 1. And then the last one is the absolute value of x plus 4. And then what you want to do is you want to check compare these two bottom equations to your absolute value equation, your parent function. And then you're going to write down what you see. So that's the parent function, and that's the new function, and that's the other new function. So at this point, go ahead and pause the video and write your student responses. We will come back right now with the responses that I have down, okay? This is what I noticed. The graph y equals the absolute value of x plus 1 shifted the parent function above 1 unit. I also noticed that y equals the absolute value of x minus 4 shifted the parent function 4 units below. And then the number added or subtracted to the absolute value of x in the equation will shift the equation up or down. So this will shift it down 4 units, and this will shift it up 1 unit. So anything that's being added is going to affect the graph, the parent function, by shifting it up. Anything that is subtracted will shift the parent function down, whatever units it says there. So now we're going to see what happens if we put a number or we add a number to the x in the absolute value. So here's a parent function. Now we're going to go ahead and subtract 2 units to the x, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to add 4 units to x, and we're going to see what's going to happen to the graph. And what I need you to do is, once you look at the graphs, and they're shown here, I want you to see what's happening, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and graph it. And you notice that the graph either shifted right or shifted left. So go ahead and write down your what you noticed. Go ahead and pause it and write down what you saw after you graphed the equations. And this is what I noticed. When y equals x minus 2 absolute value, it's going to shift the parent function 2 units to the right. I also noticed that when it was y equal x plus 4 absolute value, we'll shift the parent function 4 units to the left. The number inside the absolute value x will shift the graph to the left, adding a number to x. That's how many units it's going to shift. And then when it's right, it's when you're subtracting a number to x. So just to repeat, the number inside the absolute value of x, for example, you have a minus 2, that's going to shift it to the right, and that plus 4 is going to shift it to the left. Now, if it's outside, it's going to shift it down, it's going to shift it up. That is a common mistake by students. The next lesson, we're going to go ahead and see what's going to happen if we have a number that's in front of the absolute value function. So I have here y equals the absolute value of x. And then the next item is we have 1/2. And then we have the absolute value of x. Then we have 2 times the absolute value of x. And we have 4 times the absolute value. So you're going to go math number of x. And then the last one is 1/3. And then you have the math, number, absolute value of x. And I'm going to go ahead and you're going to see the parent function. That's going to be the first graph. And then the rest of them, you're going to see how it's going to affect as you compare to the parent function. So that's the parent function. That's y equals 1/2 x. The other one is y equals 2x. The other one is y equals 4x. And the other one is the last one is y equals 1/3 x. So you want to go ahead and write down, explain what is happening to the parent function as we have that number in front of the absolute value. How does it affect it? So go ahead and write your thoughts down. I have written my conclusion. The value in front of the absolute value will either make the graph wider or narrower. If the number is a fraction or less than 1, the graph will become wider. If the number is greater than 1, then the graph will become narrower. So I left this blank here because I wanted you to kind of give me a prediction as to what you think the graph would be, and I want you to go ahead and do that. So go ahead and pause the video and make your prediction. So if your prediction came out like this, then you're correct. So the number 5 is going to make this narrower. Now for our homework, I'm going to talk about what's going to happen, and then I do expect you to graph. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen. We're going to make a prediction. So in this case, we have y equals the absolute value of x plus 1. That plus 1, we're going to predict, is going to shift the graph 1 unit up, the parent function. For number 2, the absolute value of x plus 4, the 4 is going to shift the parent function to the left 4 units. Now, number 3, there is 2 things that are occurring. The plus 3 is going to shift the graph 3 units up, and the minus 1 is going to shift the graph to the right. So that's what I'm going to write down. Okay. So now we have the last two. We have the last two equations, and you notice that we have a 3 right there in front of the absolute value. That's going to make the graph narrower. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and let you graph, and then you can see my answers afterwards. I do expect you to graph the absolute value function and the function here, y equals absolute value of x plus 1. Make sure that you do it by hand. I'm just giving you the answers. Here are the answers. Here's the answer for number 2. The answer for number 3. You notice there's 2 transformations. You go 1 to the right and then 3 units up. And then, of course, this becomes narrower. This one, I'm going to let you work on it on your own. You want to draw the parent function and you want to draw the transformation and then explain. So your instructions are, once you've done the notes and once you've done the homework, you're going to submit it and It's Learning. If you have any questions, please text me on Remind or It's Learning. Thank you.